Hey boys and girls! This week we're going to be reading stories that are all about the ocean, underwater. So, the first one we're going to read is Ibis, and this is a true whale story. So this story about the whale Ibis is really true. It happened. I think you'll enjoy it. It's written by John Himmelman. Ibis, a true whale story. To the people of the Provincetown Center for Coastal Studies, and of course to Ibis. Deep in a bay off the coast of an old fishing village lived a pod of humpback whales. One of the whales was a little calf named Ibis. Ibis was curious about everything in the ocean. One day, she and her friend Blizzard went out swimming. They saw many kinds of fish. The most interesting were the starfish. Ibis liked to look at them. There was something about their shape that made her feel good. There they are, looking at all the starfish. As Ibis and Blizzard were drifting over a reef, they heard a strange humming noise. The two calves looked up to see something large and dark pass overhead. It was as big as a whale, but it wasn't a whale. What could that be? The calves were frightened. They had never seen a boat before. They swam back to their mothers. The next day, Ibis went back to the reef. It wasn't long before another boat came along. Again, Ibis was scared, but she was curious too. She forced herself to swim to the surface. In the cool, hazy air, she saw several faces watching her. They didn't look scary. In fact, they looked very friendly. Ibis liked them. In the months that followed, Ibis and her friends lost their fear of boats. Boats came in many sizes and shapes, and the people in them always seemed to enjoy seeing the little whales. As Ibis grew, she learned more about the sea. She knew what kinds of sharks to avoid, what food was the tastiest, and best of all, where to find the most dazzling starfish. Ibis never got tired of looking at starfish. People in their boats became a part of her life. Whenever a boat passed overhead, she swam to the surface to say hello. One evening, Ibis and Blizzard saw a school of fish swimming around the bottom of the ship. Maybe there was something good up there to eat. They went to find out. Suddenly, Ibis was caught in a fishing net. She fought to get free, but the more she struggled, the more tangled up she became. Finally, she broke loose, but part of the net was caught in her nose, caught in her mouth, and wrapped around her tail. Oh no, poor Ibis. Blizzard swam off to get help. Ibis was confused and hurt. She wanted to get away, far from people and their boats and nets. Slowly and painfully, she made her way toward the deep ocean. Many weeks passed, and Ibis grew very ill. The net in her mouth made it hard for her to eat. And every time she went to the surface for air, the net cut into her tail. But if she didn't get air every half hour, she would die. Winter was coming, and it was time for the whales to move to warmer waters. But Ibis felt too weak to make the long journey. Oh, poor Ibis. Instead, she turned back toward the coast. It was so hard for her to swim, she could barely keep moving. Ibis was about to give up. Then she saw a familiar shape. It was Blizzard. Blizzard saw that Ibis needed help. Gently, Blizzard pushed her to the surface so she could breathe. Suddenly, the water was filled with the sounds of boats and engines. The whales saw two small rafts and a boat circling them. Blizzard and Ibis tried to get away fast, but Ibis wasn't quick enough. The boats rushed toward her before she could dive. The people in the boats began to attach large floats to the pieces of net that were hurting Ibis. Blizzard stayed nearby, circling the boats nervously. What do you think they're doing? Maybe they're trying to help Ibis. Because of the floats, Ibis could not dive. She began to panic, but she did not have the strength to fight. When the boats came in closer, a person reached into the water. Ibis stared at the person's hand. The hand reminded her of something she loved very much. She began to feel better. What do you think she's looking at? Starfish, maybe. Maybe the hand reminded her of starfish. Soon, many hands dipped into the water. Ibis felt them tugging at the lines of the net. Moments later, the lines fell away, and she was free. Ibis blew a big spout from her blowhole, as if to say, "Thank you, thank you." Then she dived deep into the water. For the first time in many weeks, she felt no pain. She felt wonderful. Blizzard joined her. Then the two whales popped back to the surface for one more look. The people were waving their starfish-shaped hands. Ibis knew the hands had helped her and that the people were still her friends. Soon, Blizzard and Ibis were leaping and diving with the other whales far away in the warm waters where they would spend the winter together. The end. And here's a note from the author. He talks about how Ibis was a real whale and they were able to save her just like they said in the story. So it's pretty exciting to see how they were able to help her. And I hope you enjoyed the story, and I hope you enjoyed just all the illustrations and everything. It's a really sweet story. Take care, guys.